Yes, hello and welcome along to the Carlow Hurling Show here on the Left Wing Back podcast. It is an association with the Back in Line Clinic, and we thank Paul Kelly for that again. We're joined by Stevie Barmerick and Joe Nolan, as usual, here on the Left Wing Back podcast. Lads, good to have you on. And again, just another little quick mention too, Back in Line by name, Back in Line by nature. And it always reminds me of Killinascully with the radio episode. Was it KCR, Killinascully Community Radio, putting the unity back in the community, and with Paul, it's back in line by name and back in line by nature. So big shout out to Paul, and thanks again for supporting us. Let's focus on the hurling. How's things?
All good, yeah, all good here anyway.
So we had two games in the senior championship. We had an intermediate championship game and a few junior games as well. We have heard fierce rumblings in the past couple of days that Stevie, you have officially retired. Are you open to coming out of that said retirement?
I'm not playing any more junior hurling until there's an hour in the month.
Yeah, so never say never, as the fella said.
That's a squad game now, so look, we'll see.
They're saving him for the softer ground. He's like them on them horses.
Well, look, yeah, the games kicked off on Friday. The two of them were on at the same time, two different venues. We had Navan and Bangerstown Gales inside Netwatch Cullen Park, and we have Ballinkillen and St. Mullins in McGrath Park, and we have a nice bit to get through. So I think the best place to start will be with Ballinkillen and St. Mullins, because Joe, you were at that one. But the first thing I'd like to do, actually, I just want to make a point, and it's just, I suppose, and I don't mean this in a critical way whatsoever, but I would really hope that maybe Carlow J will consider streaming those hurling games in future, because for me, there's a number of reasons involved. Okay, let's do the simple maths on this. So I believe it was €10 to go see those games, lads. I think, yeah, on Friday, right? So maximum capacity was 700, which you probably weren't going to get. 700 between two venues, 500 in Netwatch Cullen Park, and I think 200 in Bangerstown. I'm open to correction on that. Again, if the game's on two different times, I don't know if the 700 will be at them, but they certainly won't be at them if they're on at the very same time. So in a scenario where they're on at different times, which they are this weekend, and you have 400 people at 400 by 10 is obviously 4,000. I know the average cost of getting someone to stream a game, roughly between 250 and 350. So for the basis of the argument, let's say it's 300, and you put it out there and charge €10 a pop. Well, 30 people have that person paid for it through the stream. I think between all the Carlow hurling followers around Ireland and indeed all around the world, I'd be fairly confident you get 30 people to look at both of those games. So I don't know if Carlow GA are worried perhaps that they might have a loss of revenue or it will cost them money to do this. I would say very worst case scenario, it won't cost much, but you're making the game more accessible and, to a lot of other people. So let's just say kids maybe at home that the parents just aren't in a position to bring them to the match for whatever reason. Maybe they're wore out. Maybe they're just literally having time. Maybe they don't drive. But you can pay £10 and your kid gets to watch the game, and they're getting to see all these guys. And equally all around the world. We've so many people all over the world that would like to see them. So I hope that we do have our game streamed. I think it's a great facility, and I think COVID or no COVID, it should stay. I don't see any downside to it, to be honest with you. I just think it's fabulous, and it's not a pocket issue. I'm not asking for the games to be put out for nothing. You could probably charge £10. I have no problem paying £10. I think a lot of people wouldn't have a problem paying £10 around the world to see their team in action. Maybe 5-6 weekends. It might cost you £100 for the championship. Worst case scenario, to see your team playing all those games. So I just hope that's the case. And I'd love to be talking to you guys here as well. Let's throw this out here. Let's be honest about this as well. With video footage like we've done with the football shows over the last couple of weeks. And I'd like to thank Power TV for that again, and John Nolan and Casey Tobin. It just adds another dimension to it. Like, we can sit here and we can chat about the games. We didn't get to the Bangerstown Michael game. Joe, you did get to Ballinkillen and St. Mullins, but all that becomes completely redundant if we have the video, because I can sit down and pull the whole yoke asunder and get out clips, and then we can go through it and we can articulate our points, back them up. I think it just gives a great dimension to it. So I'm asking, please, guys, consider it. It's not a criticism at all. It's just maybe have a look and see the benefits of it, because I think Carlow people and Carlow GA can only benefit from it. So I hope that's the case. Lads, you don't have to give your views on that if you don't want to. That's my own personal opinion. But I'm sure you wouldn't be against it at the same time.
No, well, no, but sure, look, any publicity is brilliant, isn't it, for the games, like for hurling? And I mean, look at last year, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to give a side. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you saying, Stevie? I think go on.
I was listening to the match the other night. The two matches were on the one time, and in fairness, KCLR done a very good job on. They went from one match to the other every 5 minutes. It was better than nothing, as in you couldn't see it fair enough. Like in KCLR only doing the radio part of it anyway, but they've done a very good job on it, as in every 5 minutes, literally, Brendan Hennessy was over to Terry Kelly in Bagnallstown. And anyone who was talking that was at either of the matches, I had a fair idea of what went on as much as you can without having looked at the match. If you can understand what I'm saying. So like they were literally, and they missed no big scores in the matches, and they had, fairness, I was impressed by that regard, because it was listening on headphones, so it was ticking the box. You couldn't get to see it, you could get to hear it. So a job well done on their behalf. Now I'd say this weekend the two games were one after the other, so I presume they're going to be on the radio again. I haven't heard anything about streaming or anything, and I presume at this stage it's not going to be. I'm guessing as well.
Yeah. I suppose my comment, lads, was only just in relation to last year, and just thought it was brilliant. You know, between people Facebooking games, you know, Facebook Live. I don't know how many clubs did that, and then there was the Park TV, which was excellent as well. You know, it's the first lot of promotion of the games, and I think you know, I know it was a different year and with COVID and, you know, no numbers and so on, but I do think there's a market there. I know Offaly did it, and I think Laois have done it in the past as well, prior to COVID as well, other counties as well, and it seems to be a good thing. And I suppose like everything, you know, if you're promoting your product to a wider audience, apart from, you know, the monetary gain, it's brilliant to showcase them as well. Like you said, no matter where you are in the world, you can always tune in, or no matter where you are, even on Loughlin, as I say, wherever Stevie is hiding there, it looks like, which is all I'm waiting to see now is if the camera swings and Osama bin Laden or someone's beside him there with that blurry footage we're seeing them. But I mean, look, it's great. And I think
hello and welcome to Crime Call.
I think you're right, Kevin. It's not a criticism. Far from it. It was actually brilliant last year, the initiative that the county board and the lads, you know, the people took on to get Park TV up and going, and it'd just be brilliant if clubs got to stream them, or Park TV got in on it and got to stream them. But you know, sure, look, I think that's a no-brainer. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, like there is different avenues of doing it, and you can actually combine the 2 points that, you know, the way of doing it. Number one is the paywall, and the other thing is to get a sponsor or a number of sponsors in on board. But then that catches Carlow GA, because people get to see the game for free, right? And I understand where that may take from gate receipts, so that's a fair enough point. Yeah. But there'll be nothing stopping you getting a sponsor in and putting in the paywall either.
Well, sure,
you're still only paying 10 quid. So I'm putting out all the ideas on the table for them here. I'm trying to literally do this for the betterment. There's no point in sitting on a podcast and criticizing and saying, I'm looking up at the wall here. Sure, the wall is grey. Well, how do you change the colour of the wall? Like, do you know? So that's literally what it's all about. So if you don't have an idea, then don't really criticize. Try to see is there a solution to it. Like, so anyway, hopefully that changes, and hopefully it changes soon. I'd love to see it happening. I'd love to be able to see those games. I couldn't obviously see them Friday, so I ended up watching Greg Cullen and Emo in the Laois Senior Football Championship instead.
That's punishment.
I didn't want to be that wasn't my number one choice thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to be looking at? Obviously look at your own games, but that's literally where it's at. So look, here's hoping, lads. Here's hoping. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the action then, Joe. So you're in McGrath Park, Ballinkill and St. Mullins. 117-12, I think, in the end.
Yep.
So what's the breakdown of the game? Is that a fair reflection? Give us a blow-by-blow account.
Well, sure, I suppose they always say the scoreline doesn't lie, but I suppose, look, I think from Ballinkillen point of view, or anyone who's there would tell you, like, there wasn't 8 points in it as such. I suppose the first thing of note really was, I know we talked about it last week on the podcast, just, I suppose I kept my cards close to my chest in some ways there, just about our absentees and that. Like, there was a few ones that were well flagged, but
that's an official written warning, actually.
Yeah, I know. Actually, look, you have to mind your own and say, but I know, but look, Ballinkillen, look, we're short. There was, I think we counted up, there was 10 missing from the semi-final and final last year. And for any panel to lose that was a big hit. So, but anyway, look, that we're not using that as an excuse. The lads who were there hurled fierce well. I suppose, look, St. Mullins were down, obviously Marty, and Jack only came in as a sub in the second half as well, and Jason O'Neill didn't. He might have come in, I think, but he was out as well. And the last Gary Bennett for injury. So both teams were kind of, had a good few knocks. Ger Cody obviously out as well, for them as well. So both teams were shorn some of their big names. So that was, suppose, it was kind of something to flag at the start. The game itself, well, look, it was very even, Stephen. Very even, Stephen. I suppose it came down to the economics of it, really, in terms of scoring chances. And Stephen was right when we talked about it afterwards there. The lads on the radio were saying it as well, that we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. I think we hit maybe 14 wides over the hour. And I suppose a wide is a wide, but a lot of them were bad wides. And it ultimately came down to that. Like, I suppose St. Mullins had maybe one goal chance, and the goal that they got was a ball, a high ball that broke into the square, and Tomas came to bat it out, but it didn't break very far, and they swept it in, and that was their one and only kind of chance to threaten the goal, and they took it. Whereas I suppose down the other end, Jack Tracy for us, who had, I have to say, I know the papers flagged James Doyle as having a great game, but I thought Jack Tracy for us was exceptional, and he gave another excellent display there tonight in the under-20. But Jack had a goal chance for us, and Kevin Keogh saved it. Do you know what I mean? I think we actually didn't get a score out of 65 either, as far as I remember. So look, St. Mullins were very economical with the ball in terms of their scores. They played with the breeze in the first half, and led by a couple of points at half-time. I think we would have been happy going in at half-time. I think it was 7-4 or something like that, low enough scoring game. James Doyle hit two, thundered into the game, hit a great score at the start of the first half from centre-back, literally, I'd say, from the throw-in. Got the ball and dropped forward. But we crept into the game. Conor Keogh was excellent in the first half for St. Mullins. I think he clipped over 4 points from play in the first half. He was a real live wire, and St. Mullins, they isolated him out in the wing and played a lot of good ball into him. For ourselves, I suppose Pádraig Hines had a big, he had a good shift in the first half. Pádraig was playing centre forward, kind of on James Doyle, and I think he clipped over 3 points from play as well. So the first half was kind of even, Stephen. You know what I mean? There wasn't a whole pile in it. We would have been very happy with our performance. A good breeze in the second half to come and play with. But the second half we never kind of got going. And St. Mullins, in fairness to him, as you'd expect from every St. Mullins team, hugely well organised. Anytime we looked to break, maybe we were a little bit ponderous around the middle, maybe to deliver the ball in quicker. But in fairness to St. Mullins, they had the backs, they worked their bodies back, and even when the ball was hit in, then they mopped it up, and then our chances that we did create then were kind of half chances, or where we were shooting under pressure as well. So yeah, look, I think we were disappointed, probably realistically going into it, maybe in the back of our minds, like, being short so many, we probably, a good performance and see what had happened then. But I think after the game, we were probably disappointed not to be closer or not to get something out of the game, regardless of who was on the pitch for both teams, because I think it was probably a game that that we could have got something out. But again, like I said, that's not taking any credit away from St. Mullins. They managed the game really well, and they got the vital scores. I don't think they hit a wide in the second half. Like, I mean, I think it was Patrick Welch. Like, geez, he got on 2 or 3 balls in the second half. Like, got on a couple more, but he got on two two or three within shooting distance and banged them over the bar. They were really, really economical. Seamus Murphy again was a big influence as well. But for us, look, I think our lads, like, while we're disappointed with the results, like we had a lot of championship debuts, made there. I think we had 4 or 5 from last year's junior winning team stepped straight up and did well and didn't look out of place. So I think we'll be encouraged by it going forward, but we're probably going to need some of those 10 back if we're going to have something to say in the championship, I think. And probably for St. Mullins, I think, going forward, they're going to need, those couple of bodies. I know Marty is out for, probably till at the very best, probably later in the championship, but, they're probably going to need Jack and Ger and these lads back firing well. I think, I suppose just to mention there, Gary Bennett who went off injured as well, and he'd be a big loss for the weekend because he had a fine game. He's really tight in the corner there. So, I think both teams, while they enjoyed the game and got something out of it, they're probably both looking to, over the coming weeks to really get some of those lads back in on the team and in on the field, if they're going to have a serious tilt of the championship.
So being back in McGrath Park for a championship, what was it like in general? Was there a decent atmosphere to it? Like,
it was, yeah, great buzz. Sure, yourself, you're kind of closer to the pitch down in the McGrath, or sorry, in Netwatch Cullen Park. There was a good buzz. Yeah, there was a good crowd there. There wasn't, I don't know, was there much counting, as they say, but I'd say there was the full of whatever was allowed in because there was the bank.
Good answer.
A good answer, yeah. No, I know. In fairness, and it was really, I have to say, by the way, as well, in fairness to Bankstown Gales and all the stewards, whoever was there, both from their club and otherwise, it was really well managed, and there was parking across the Minch Norton, and there was no delays, and everything was really well done, and it was brilliant. The pitch itself probably wasn't in as good a condition as I've seen it in before. Do you know what I mean? But that's not anything to do with the grounds people are at in there. It's probably just do with the weather we had, you know what I mean, as well. So, but that's not not a criticism. Like, I'm just saying, you'll be thinking of it from years back. But it was great to have the game back in there, and you'd be hoping that once the door is open, that they'll keep it open in there and that get a few more matches in there in the coming months.
So different positions for different lads. Well, kind of not actually, because James Dye was obviously playing at centre back for Carlow a lot of the time this year. David English was out around the middle. Did they both play in those respective positions actually?
Yeah. Both the lads, in fairness, played. James was back centre back for the game and most of the game, and David was out around middle of the field for us. I actually played the whole game at middle of the field. Yeah, it was very interesting. Obviously, yeah, we heard. Well, look, he hurled for the county there this year, James at centre back, and would have hurled previously for Carlow IT at centre back as well. And I suppose we would have talked before. It's kind of a new thing with teams. Maybe the idea of the old centre back to kind of stand and deliver man. Well, he's kind of definitely gone. And then I suppose over the last couple of years, we would have seen maybe the idea of a sweeper. In terms of a 6, like having a hurler back there is kind of an extra, like a sweeper or a stopper. Or I know we sometimes would have said it before, maybe of Richard Cody or Dermot Byrne the last years for Rangers, kind of like a quarterback. And I suppose maybe James back there is kind of bringing a new dynamic to it, kind of like what I suppose maybe Cork and Clare are doing as well, where if you have two midfielders in front of a kind of a dynamic centre back, and they're prepared and they're disciplined and they'll hold their position. It gives a lad a license from centre half back, and especially like James, who is a phenomenal striker of the ball. And like I said, he tipped over 2 from play. I think he got 2 long range frees as well. And it gave him a kind of a license to move forward as well. Which and obviously he did have these defensive duties as well. But I suppose it's definitely something to look at. And David around the middle of the field. Well, look again. I suppose he has all the attributes to hurl anywhere in the pitch, as we know. I suppose maybe from a Ballingill point of view, the move kind of came about because maybe just of personnel, like we had Micheál Ryan back there this year. Micheál will be kind of a full back, and that kind of frees up, Dion maybe to go further out the field. So, David's a great option to have out around the middle of the field. And we did really well out around the middle of the field. I thought we had a good game. A good amount of possession out there. Jamie Wall had a fine hour in the middle of the field, and David got on a lot of ball. We were probably on top, in around the middle of the field. But in fairness, like I said, St. Mullins then, anytime we were on the ball, they closed us down, and the ball that was going in was coming in under pressure as well. So, but yeah, it's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see. I think in the modern game, and probably Stevie will probably say too, like that role of the extra player. We would have seen it with Waterford, maybe with playing the sweeper. And I think, in fairness, and I have to give the man credit, I think one man who really moved on the centre back role, or the kind of sweeper or extra back, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's not even extra back, because there's, but just even the movement from a back was probably Davy Fitzgerald. Like, in fairness, the way he'd Wexford playing over the last couple of years, where you might have Kevin Foley or someone like that, bombing forward from a half back line, or even like, say, Waterford at the minute with Calum Lyons and lads like that. So I suppose the position of someone like James Dial, who we would traditionally maybe have pigeonholed in as a forward, he has that kind of punch going forward equally from centre back, and I suppose he does give you, he's a fine specimen of a physical man back there as well. He won't be shy about meting out the punishment either.
4 points in play for Conor Keogh.
Yeah, fine game from Conor. Yeah,
we're going for a chap. What, 18 or 19 is he?
20 maybe. He's 20, I think, this year. Yeah, he had a really good game. Really, really good game.
Especially in the absence of, like, with Doyle centre back, Mouse gone, and O'Neill not playing. That's leadership, in fairness.
Yeah, he took 2 frees as well, I think, or 3. He got on a lot of ball. Now, in fairness, in the second half, he was quieter. And it was good to see. I know we talked last year after each game about kind of new players or promising players, and Conor definitely, he definitely put his hand up in terms of notice. And I think, in fairness, like I said, I think Jack Tracy on the far side picking a younger hurler, was, as a forward, was really, really, he was a thorn in St. Mullins' side the whole time. He won a good few frees. Like I said, he had the goal chance. He might have got a point or two as well. And he was very impressive as well from that point of view. So it's good to see other lads kind of, coming out of the woodwork, because obviously Carlow Hurling needs that to freshen things up going forward as well. Yeah,
definitely. So we mentioned Mouse a couple of times, not in playing terms, unfortunately, but he made his debut as an official on Friday. Mouse was linesman, and Brendan Lean was the other linesman. Brendan's your chairman, or was your chairman? Is he still chairman?
Chairman, yeah.
Right.
Chairman,
so the chairman of one club, and probably Carlow's best hurler, are doing linesman now. This kind of makes a mockery of my criticism thing. Well, again, I'll offer a solution to it. That's a bit of a joke, to be honest. Like, let's be honest about it. This is senior championship hurling, and I'm led to believe there was one linesman for the game between Naomh Eoin and Bindlestown Gales as well. Sparks Murphy went in to help out Saul Murphy. So one linesman between 2 games in the senior hurling championship. I don't know. Like, we mentioned killing a Scully already. Like, that's killing a Scully stuff. Like, it's not good enough, really. Are the clubs doing enough? Are guys putting themselves forward enough to become officials, like become referees? Is it down to that? It's bizarre. Like, I know in certain times before it may have happened, very sporadic, I suppose, just kind of out of nowhere, it might just happen, and that's for a very honest reason, I would say. How does this happen in a senior championship where we don't have officials?
Yeah, well, I suppose. Sorry, Stevie. I know you picked it up as well from the other games, but I suppose just to say, it was kind of hard. In fairness, now look, both of the lads, in fairness to Mouse and in fairness to Brendan, they made the calls and they made honest calls. But you know yourself, when you're standing in front of the St. Mullins dugout and you're given a call, and you're given the St. Mullins ball, and it could be the most absolute nailed on St. Mullins ball, or vice versa for Brendan Lee with Ballinkillen. You're going to get dogs abuse off everyone. So, well, now in fairness, there wasn't dogs abuse, but you know what I mean. You're going to get a bit more lip than if you were a neutral. And I suppose more importantly, I think, apart from anything, like Pod of the Ware, who's a top class referees, we know, like top one of the best in Ireland, and probably unlucky maybe not even to get the All Ireland this year. But like, in fairness to him, even at club level now, the speed of hurling is just boom, boom, boom. And, to give him a hand, you know what I mean? To give him, like, he had his team of umpires there, all of them mic'd up as normal and everything. You know yourself, you don't expect anything else from Pod because it's always top class. But, I mean, it's just not fair on the likes of him trying to keep his eye on it. Now, look, there was absolutely nothing in the game. There wasn't one bad bang hardly at all in the game, and look, but like it's not fair on him really, apart from we talk about standards and players and in fairness to the clubs and all, but it's not fair on the official really either. And I suppose again, it's not a criticism really of, I don't know the ins and outs of it, who appoints what, whether there was refs or whether there was lines people or referees on holidays or whether there's issues with anything else going on. But it was disappointing maybe, and especially whatever about hearing it maybe with, in one venue, but to hear it in both venues was probably a little bit disappointing. And, it doesn't come down to clubs maybe getting more referees in. Are we part of the problem in terms of, I mentioned there, like, shouting and roaring? I know in fairness, Carlow GA, they have a very good program now, be sound or be silent sort of thing. Is it a general problem in the GA? Like, I think probably referee shortages in other counties is probably a big thing also. And it's probably something, in a general sense that GA would probably have to look into going forward. But it was a little bit disappointing not to have them there. And like I said, that's not saying that didn't happen. There was absolutely no instance called wrong, no instance that, whether they were neutral or not neutral linesmen needed to be called in on. But it just puts both Brendan and Mouse in an awkward position as well. And but in fairness to them, look, the both handled it well. They take a lot to knock the two of them out of their strides. But it's probably just something to note going forward,
Yeah, Stevie, you did linesman, I think, for the intermediate game, which we'll talk a little bit about later. Was it linesman or umpire?
No, I didn't. I didn't do linesman. With no linesman, it was kind of a free for all. I got called a prick, all right, for a line ball. Well, I thought it was ours now.
Not the first time.
But that was one of the players called me a prick. It was one of the players. It wasn't one of the Mount Leinster End supporters. So look, we don't mind that. But no, but seriously, like it is asking for trouble. Like, look,
sorry,
that's pride me is gone. I know. It is asking for trouble if something does happen, like, and no matter what you have, you'll have line balls. There was 5 or 6 pints went over the other night now with only one umpire as well, neutral umpire, and like there were tough ones at the top of the post. And in fairness, neither team, they took what way the balls were given, whether they were given a pint or a wide, there was no contest about them. I'll be honest with that, and that's fair enough. But just like if you have an incident turns a game, say like the two matches of the night, right? Fair enough. There was 8 pints in it and 6 or 7 in Carlow. You might say the two best teams won by 2 scores. But if it's down to the end of the championship and one of them games was down to a pint, and suddenly Michael or Bagnallstown or Ballinkillen or Sam Mullins are going over it because something could have happened in a first round game where there's no linesman. And as we said, we don't know what the reason was. I didn't ask. I don't know either. But shortage. There is a shortage. I know that now off the record. As in, just you're looking at games where lads are doing 2 and 3 games the one day, and that's in fairness to them. The lads that are doing it, fair play to them, and hold my hand up and say, you'll disagree with them, but if you haven't got refs, you have no matches. And unfortunately, right lines people, whether it be man or woman, whoever's doing it, you can go ahead without them, but it's not a good thing going forward because there'll be some decision, and next minute someone will get taken. Like the intermediate games are at home and away venues, so they're not going to be. The senior games are going to be in enclosed venues where, right, there's not going to be someone lipping the wall. You'll be hoping anyway, but just think hopefully after, like, there's been enough attention brought to it, I'd say now that it should be sorted for this weekend to be hoping. The 2 matches in Carlow,
they're different times as well, so that means more officials are.
One for the other, so chances are you put it the same. One of the linesmen could be refereeing the first one or vice versa. So hopefully it's just
Well, look, again, go on.
Yeah, no, like just to reiterate, like, it's not. None of us are coming at it from a criticism point of view. We're kind of here to discuss things that promote the games and make things, bring things up a level, and and if people aren't, if there's not bodies there to do it, no matter who's appointing what or doing what, if there's no one to work with, if you get me, they can't appoint anyone, and it just, I think, and again, this is not belittling any grade of hurling. You could say, well, hold on, like our first team is junior or whatever, and don't we deserve, we put in the same effort as the senior? Of course you have, absolutely. But I suppose the senior hurling and the senior football is always going to be the flagship, the kind of flagship club games in the county. And like I said, you probably would expect to have Lions people, neutral Lions people there.
It's bread and butter stuff. To
summarize,
but like I'm gonna leave it at that because it is what it is. I don't think it's going to happen this weekend because, as you said, there are 4:30 and 6:30 are the two times for the games.
I ended up doing the line a Division 2 Carlow Laois game, and I was sub goalie one year. I had a lung infection or something, and the linesman didn't turn up, so I ended up doing the line that day.
So what you're saying is you'll jump in and do it this weekend if you have to.
The pay is right.
Yeah, I tell
you have experience.
I tell you a better one. I was a selector tonight with the under-20s, and I went over. I did umpire for the whole game. I don't think I was missed.
Well, this is it. Like, and look, one last thing on it. If you are doing the line and you're from a club that is playing, obviously, like so, just say near Breeder playing Stevie, and you're doing linesman, and one of your lads after clattering someone else, but the ref hasn't seen it. You're obviously not going to want to tell him that they're clattering them, like, because that's just the way it is. So, and that's where we're at.
Thing, if someone comes over and now the game the other night, there was no off the ball, and I was at the county final there, Ogan Leader, and I was on the sideline looking at. I'll have to say, the two teams, there was no shit going on off the ball, not one bit. It was played in a great manner, and good to see the match blowing Rangers the other night in Burris. Same crack. There was no crap going on off the ball. Like that's, and fair enough, that makes the job a bit handier for whoever officials you have, whether it's one umpire, four umpires. Sparks was in the junior game, landed him with the 4 boys. We were playing junior against Tulla. He had his 4 lads. He's a regular crew of 4, 5 or 6 there with the Murphys and from Norney, his own crew and that's so, it's just, I said, hopefully next weekend it's been flagged. So hopefully, and
so we'll go back to the nitty gritty stuff then. So Bindstown Gales and Navan on Friday in Netwatch Park. So the night we got this prediction right, 316 to 115 in favour of Bindstown in the end. It's not the scoreline I would have expected. I didn't realise it or didn't think that maybe they'd be 7-point winners in the end. But again, I'm only going by accounts of different lads who've kind of been talking to, and a little bit of hearsay and a little bit of reading up and this, that, and the other. But the biggest standout thing for me, it was an incredibly difficult week or two for the Kane family. And obviously, Andrew has just come back from injury, and Styler, a nephew of Andy who passed away sadly. Styler scored 210. Andy came off the bench and he could score 1-1 or 1-2. I mean, sometimes it's just written in the stars. It's incredible stuff, and I was so happy to hear that's what unfolded. You'd have to be just delighted for them, really. And a great result, Joe.
Yeah, brilliant result. And just to say, by the way, Tomas Dowling, our own goalie, was a nephew as well. And
that's right, yeah.
And it was a massively difficult time. Tomas was very close to Andy, and very close to Andrew. They're, apart from being cousins, they're good buddies as well. So look, yeah, it kind of puts things in perspective. But yeah, a massive result. But look, we were looking at the games last year. I think the first game against us, Bagnallstown, Gales were, they were, I will say they were poor, at times. I know that they kind of tightened us in patches of it, but I thought last year, game on game on game, they were getting better and better and better and better and better. And I really think, they really grew into the senior championship. And I think, I suppose, going on what we kind of said, we just with Navan the last year and maybe over the last couple of years, there's a level of kind of inconsistency there, and I would, I was trying to think. I was on the way over to the match tonight, and I was trying to think about what could you put it down to? Is it, is there lack of players? Well, obviously no. I mean, look, there's plenty of players up there, and it's just they're not just putting 2 and 3 games together where they're firing. I think getting back to Bagenalstown Gales, like I said, in fairness, they seem to be growing and learning as the championship goes on. Now, obviously, look, I think they nearly had a full hand on Saturday night, like probably more than they had. On Friday night, more than they had at any time last year in championship. Like with Alfie back, kind of Keane Dial is able to be pushed off the edge of the square out to the half back line. You have Andrew Kane back, you have Liam Galway, you have these lads back. And Styler. I think did Styler hit 210 at the weekend.
210 it was, yeah. So, and I just want to pick you up on the point of the team. Gange is in the goal, a former minor county keeper when you were selector, Joe, and so steady, always has been. Great soccer player, great footballer as well. And then you've got Andrew Casey, Darren Nolan. Like Darren Nolan, for me, gave 2 of the best performances I've ever seen in county finals. 1 year of football, incredible. And then I think it was the year before that in a minor hurling final. One of the best displays of full-back play I've ever seen in any grade. So he's in full-back, and I think that's where he's going to be for his career. He's just so solid there. In the other corner, I think it was Tom Marr. The half-back line, I love this balance. You have Keane Doyle, Alfie, and Niall Bulger. That's a very, very solid foundation. You got the experience in the middle. Keane is obviously captain and has built up a good bit, and Niall is an exceptional hand. In the middle, I think it's Beanie and Jack McCullough. Again, great little combination. Beanie, all the experience, loads of hurling in him. Jack, after megamorphing, I think, in the last year in a physical sense and from a hurling point of view as well, because I always felt while he was a good hurler, I think he's an excellent footballer. But now there's serious hurling in him. Across the half forward line, it was a Milky Styler, I think. Danny Doyle, I think, will be on the other wing, and then was a Keelan Guider, Jamie Clark, and top of the left has gone on my head now, but Andrew Kane came on as well. Richie Whelan was corner forward, actually. That's a strong team, and it stood to them last year. Those I think they come on leaps and bounds last year. Results mightn't have always went their way, but that's a very, very good start. I'll be very, very happy with that. And I'm going to make the call here now. I think they'll do very well at the weekend, and I think it'll be Harvey.
Yep.
Agree?
Yep. I'll agree, yeah. Yeah, I think it will be hard, but I think they'll bring they'll bring that momentum in.
That's St. Mullins out. Just for people who don't know. So like 4:30 on Sunday you have Munster Rangers and Avon. Both these games now at Cullen Park, and then 6:30 you have Bagenalstown Gales and St. Mullins. So Stevie, I'll bring you in because I'm a bit heavy on Joe with this, but Carlow seen her selector and everything. Big shot now, big time. But no, I honestly think they have a good chance of winning this. What do you reckon yourself?
Yeah, but sure, they've taken the put away pressure on Ballinkillen and Nevon. Now you could say if lads are looking at that, look, Munster Rangers and St. Mullins are always going to be in the first 2 or 3. Lads will be saying at the start of the year, whether publicly or it's changed the momentum now. There's a little bit of pressure off Bagenalstown now. We would have said it last year possibly as well. Can they put 2 games together like you've said about Nevon as well? You wouldn't say it's a free shot at St. Mullins, but still be interested to see like Styler now on James Dial if the Homers wasn't played as well as they did at the weekend. Looking at the Bagenalstown forward line on paper now, we didn't see him on grass unfortunately, but there seems to be a lot of pace there in every side of it. Danny Dial mightn't have the hurling some of the other lads that have, but he'll be quite a handful, that side, and Milky working as well, and you have Styler still has the pace of any good 21, 22-year-old, even though he's into the 30s now well. And you have Andrew Kane. Andrew Kane has been in contact with the show to say that he's only 23, not 26, as I mentioned last week. So we'll have to clarify that.
And Joe, can I just put out this publicly, because we did say it privately in the group. I think Stevie, because he is retired now, he thinks everyone else is older as well.
That's it.
It's just you, Stevie. It's just you.
And Stevie, you were always very bad at the ages. There was a lot of accusations there about the Nurney over 35 soccer team. You were always very bad at the ages. Sure.
Well, Dahan the Kildavin under 21 team in 1988. Paul Ryan's uncle was full forward, but he had a mistake. Being married to my first cousin. He was about 33 and full forward under 21 semi-final. That did happen.
He mustn't have got much hardship.
I remember playing a minors
Well,
match
he came in to
actually.
be
I was 20 or something. But that takes the biscuit altogether. We played up in Clock one night.
he came in to be head me at one time, all right. And I got a good look at him. Got two
Yeah.
good look at him. Yeah, like look, Sam Mullins, Gary Bennett, you reckon is out. So look, he'll be one of them lads where he's going. He'll be given a job there at the weekend. That Jamie Clark, as we said, look, we're only going by what we've heard and reports in the nationals and that. So
Gary was
interesting to see where that
carrying a knock.
goes.
I don't know whether he's out, Stevie, but he's definitely carrying.
Right,
He went off against
yeah.
us now with his knee, and it's a pity because he had a few issues, this year injury wise, and he's a great lad.
Week on week as well. The match of week on week, you can't really risk it, especially in the one last week. They'll be looking right, if it's a do or die game. Look, see what it is Sunday evening, but like there's a amount of dials in that team. There's nearly half the Bangladesh team is dials there now at the minute. Like, and there's every one of them bringing a different situation to the table. So Alfie back as well. We said it before. No, just go on to Michael. I was listening to the match and just kept. There was only the point in it the whole way, maybe a point or two, and then the 2 goals Bangladesh got at the start second half, about 7 or 8 minutes in, gave them that 5, 6, 7 point cushion where even a Nevo on goal, which they did get in the last few minutes, but they were still ended up 5 points down. And look, but John Michael was back up in the forwards again. We said he played centre back there in the Bulger Cup. Joy, we would have had a good look at him. We were wondering there, like, is he going to stay back there? If he's going to be back there along with Ross Smithers, who's going to do the score? Now, Dean Sly, he scored 1-8. Which of the Slys is he actually? Is he son of Mick's or John's or just when he's scoring? You see a Sly scoring 1-8 from 8 points
sure, to be honest
ball. There must be some relation to Mick Sly going back the years. Yeah, so if Bangladesh win the weekend, that's definitely throwing the 2 teams lost last weekend into a potential quarter-final match if it's down to that in their head-to-head game.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, that's a very tough ask now for Navan at this point to face into, a really slick outfit Rangers. Let's be honest about it. We haven't seen them play yet this year, but as you mentioned last week's show, the most dominant all-around championship performance I've ever seen last year. That just were blitzed everyone basically. Maybe there's a couple of times where teams got reasonably close, but they never really looked in trouble. They were so dominant. So how do Navan get themselves up for that one? Like, it's a really, really tough ask. I don't like writing teams off and stuff, but I just really honestly can't see a way that Navan win this one. It'd be great for the championship if they did. Actually, it'd be like, wow, there's the whole thing kind of blown open to a certain extent. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, well, sure. Look, like we said, being brutally honest, Kevin, I don't think anyone would back against Mount Leinster Rangers to open their campaign with a victory at the weekend. But like, look, in terms of getting up for it or whatever else, I mean, look, the rivalry that's always there. But I mean, look, that kind of dander or that'll only bring you some part of the battle. I still think, I still think Navan that there's a big game. There's always a big game or two in them, as we saw, I suppose, ourselves in Ballinkinnon last year. The bet us very comfortably. But I don't think it's going to be this weekend. I don't think that it'll come. It might be a good performance, but I don't think it'll come with a win. Like I said, I think the word inconsistency is something that you're looking at Navan and they're a massive club, fine club, fielding 3 adult teams. So things are obviously going right there in terms of the club, in terms of stuff like that, but just the last couple of years, they've just been so inconsistent in terms of their hurling. Like I said last year against ourselves, against Ballinkillen, they were fantastic, and then a decent performance against Bagenstown, and then very flat in the semi and that. But it's so hard to nail down. I mean, in fairness to them, last year they kind of changed, or last 2 years they kind of changed their brand of hurling, what we would to call, away from the kind of more traditional way of Michael hurling, like they were working the ball through the hand, and that spare man out around the middle, and trying to change things up a bit. But I know it's so hard just to it's so hard just to see where they're going to make a massive impact on things on Friday night, because I think the extra week of rest as well, the extra rest or break from Mount Leinster Rangers, I mean, they're going to be coming in fresh. Michael, week on week, like Stevie mentioned there, with games, and then with the kind of psychological blow to lose, like the way and that's not being disrespectful to Bagenstown Gales, but Michael probably would have targeted that game as as a win, and get that win under your belt, start of the championship, and then put kind of gives you a little bit of a cushion or whatever. So I don't know. I can't see anything. I can't, like I said, I probably, like most of us here, I can't see where a win is going to come for them on Friday. I think it'll be about the performance and trying to steady the ship really and take what they can out of it then.
So simple verdict, MLR for Joe. You're MLR on this one as well, Steve, yeah? Yeah.
Well, sure, no, in fact, you'll have to go by that now. Don't you think maybe the Michael game might stand to Michael as in it's a championship game, but like I presume unless Rangers don't playing practice games of the highest quality, that they're wanted near and far for games, so no harm to take a couple off the intermediate team if they want to.
Yeah, so before we move on to the prediction then for the other one, the Bagenstown St. Mullins game, just talk to us about that intermediate game, Stevie. It was the only one on at the weekend. It was yourselves and Rangers down in Boris, I think 14-11 in the end to Rangers. I'm
just going to take down a few details here, lads, while Stevie's talking.
So Ballinkillen are playing Nairnbreed this weekend. So we've got two guys that are perfectly placed to call that one. But yeah, like what was the crack? What happened in that? Rangers got a good start anyway, I believe.
Oh, 6 points to no score, the first water break, and we playing with a strong breeze. Look, like the graveyard and Boris is behind us. We could have been in it, like, because it was going only one way. Now, big change in the second quarter, 8-5. I don't know exactly what the score was after the third quarter, but like you're looking at Mount Leinster Rangers. Frank Foley comes out in the goal. They've Gary Kelly full back, Willie Hickey centre back, John Cody full forward, and Derek Byrne corner forward. So the experience, and they weren't the lads that I wouldn't say done the damage. There was the experience they're bringing in, the shape. They're keeping the shape. We lost. It took us a while to get up to the speed of the game. I wouldn't say the speed of the game, but the speed of thinking on their behalf more than ours. We definitely finished stronger than we started. Couple of chances where could have took points in the second half, just over Labrador or something could have back when it was back to a point. But definitely we learned a lot now. Between Adam Dunn was back. That was his first game. He didn't play at all last year. Still have a couple more lads out injured, and look, we don't know. Still, there's lads carrying a couple of long-term injuries. They might be back for the tail end of the championship. We don't know, because every week there's someone pulling up at some sort of it. Talking about Gary Bennett there, whoever his knee was at him. Like, there's just no time to get an injury now when it's either a muscle injury or broken fingers. You're just going to, it's week on week. We have a game this week, with no game the following week, because St. Mullins have pulled out intermediate. I don't know. It's just joking there. Many lads will. Mount Leinster Rangers lose off that team, or they lose any. You're guessing. I don't know. Will Gary Kelly go up? He didn't play last year. He was when he come back from injury. Faker Fitzpatrick possibly. I don't know. You're guessing, and look, it just shows the strength of the club. Like that, they're at the post second team like that with 5 lads. Did 4 of them start in the Leinster final, or 5 of them? That's a serious, experience they'll bring to a team. So the other game of the weekend, I think, is that Carlow are playing Mount Leinster Rangers in Boris as well. So look, we'll see what Carlow have now. Look, they weren't wonderful tonight. We played in the Bulger Cup. I don't know who they'll have back or who they haven't back. So look, we'll know. Joe will have the 10 biscuits out in Ballinkillen now Saturday night. Hopefully we're still talking at 8:30.
as long as we're not still talking out at 8:30. The two of us.
The shout is not included in talking.
Have you lost, obviously, good few? You're down 10 off your senior team from the county final last year, you were saying. So does that mean a lot of those guys that won the junior championship are going up? Obviously, a few of them have gone up already. So where does that leave you at the weekend?
Sure, look, it leaves us tight. Yeah, we lost. Niall Whelan, would say the whole Shane Farrell, the whole full backline that lined out against St. Mullins were all from our junior team last year. And then say Lauren at wing back, Niall Whelan as well. A couple of the lads we would have regraded as well, who maybe might have got a game or two at intermediate level, had other lads, been fitting well or whatever available. They were used as well. So look, it leaves us tight, no question about it. But it was encouraging there tonight. Was over there with the under-20s. Our under-20s, a great tussle there at Munster Rangers. They bet us by 7 or 8 points in the end, but with 3 or 4 minutes to go, there was only a puck of a ball in it. But it was encouraging that some of those lads now were stepping up, even stepping into the intermediate. And we were talking to the boys after the match there, and there's a couple of them, who were a bit reluctant between different things going on, and they kind of said, "Jesus, well, look, we'll be there Saturday night." So it's probably not the start. It's probably not the start in intermediate hurling that we wanted. Look, ideally, had we held on to, Paddy Cavan as well. I'm just thinking the names of lads we lost. Ideally, you'd like to have kind of had another year with those lads at intermediate level. There's probably 1 or 2 we were going to lose. But to lose that many and probably key men as well, say Lauren Kinsella and Dewey Ryan would have been a middleman as well. But look, it is what it is, and it's kind of a year that we're just going to try to get the experience and see where it goes. And look, it's nothing to lose. I think even if results go again as this year, we look to stay up, if you get me, intermediate, because I don't think this year will be kind of a fair reflection maybe of where we hope to be. So. But look, it is what it is. I'd probably pin, Nave Breed will have to be favourites for that coming across to us, and that's not anything at all. In fairness to them, their work has gone in down there, and they're probably, they have a bigger picture, maybe getting back to senior, in mind, and so we'll be under pressure on Friday night. But sure, look, we'll feel anyway and see how we get on.
Right, so let's go through the junior results from the weekend. Newry 118, St. Patrick's 111. Good win there, Stevie. Swan Song is going to happen, as you said, over the next couple of months. But anyway, Rangers 13 beat Carlow Town 218 to 110. St. Mullins 118, Palatine 113. That's the results there. So, as we mentioned, this weekend we have the couple of senior hurling games with the preview. Bindstown and St. Mullins in terms of verdicts there still. We mentioned Ballinkillen and Nave Breed. We mentioned Rangers and Carlow Town. Those are intermediate games. And have we a few junior games as well?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's Friday
I'm
night.
trying to find those there.
Just to say as well, the Nave Own Burn Rangers match was called off due to an injury. Now, thankfully, everything was okay, but it was a real humdinger of a game. The other junior game there, it's not down to results. But,
no, it's not. It's not. No,
I think it was 2. I think Burn Rangers were leading by 2 points. Absolute cracker of a game, apparently. So just in case people are wondering what happened to that fixture.
Yeah, hopefully whoever that is okay. That's the most important thing.
All is good. Yeah.
Good stuff. We have a junior fixture here only in front of me. Michael and Carlow Town. That's down for Friday. After that, lads, I have a few more now. Yes, Palatine Nave Breed 7:30 as well in the Super Bowl, and Rangers against just battle the Rangers. Bonus Rangers. That's going to be on Sunday, right? Okay, sound good to have this insight. Bonus Rangers and Burn Rangers down for 7:30 in Borris on Friday, and St. Mullins and Bindstown down for 7:30 on Friday as well in St. Mullins.
It's a real vibrant championship, in fairness to it. We were down there the last couple of years, and Stevie knows as well from playing and managing and everything in it and officiating that, as I say. But it's a fantastic championship. There's a lot of cracking games in it. There's 10 teams in it this year, and 9 teams. Bagnstown Gales as well. It's a cracking championship, you know what I mean, and they're good matches to go along and see. It's a really vibrant championship, and anyone could win it, depending on any day.
The scores there the weekend, in any of the games, I think Burn Rangers and Michael was 317 to 219 when it was called off.
Yeah, cracking.
How long was left in the list?
Yeah,
it was fair hitting that now in a third grade. So last year opened my eyes, intermediate level, looking at the standard of it's a second tier competition, but the final between Munster Rangers and Michael last year, there was something like 16 or 17 player score from play, and I know hurling has changed and it's not totally man marking jobs and all that now, but definitely it's the scoring wise anyway. If you're going to look at a match, you get some bit of entertainment at it.
So just before we wrap up, I'm going to go through Bangstown and St. Mullins, as we said, but the draw for the Carlow Senior Football Championship was made there this evening, and we will go through that there as well. The prediction for Bangstown St. Mullins, I think Bangstown might win this narrowly. And my prediction would be James Doyle hurl the world of ball at centre back, and Styler score at least 3 times from play if they're marking each other. So that's my prediction. Joe.
I'm going to sit in the fence here. I'm going to go for a draw. I think it'll be a close game. St. Mullins have they know how to win tight games. They're feckers. I said it in the first podcast here. Their work rate, their attitude is just second to none. And I don't know. I think they know how to win tight games, and they know how to win games without some of their bigger names at times. So I'm going to go for a draw. I think it'll be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Bagnallstown win. But Bagnallstown Gaels win. But I think I'm going to go to draw. I really couldn't call it. I probably maybe a little bit of a shake towards Bagnallstown Gaels, but that's probably only based on the momentum of getting that good win over Navan last week. But I think I'll sit in the fence in this one and go with a draw.
Steve?
I went against Bagnallstown last week. I gave my tight verdict, and I'm going to go against them again this week because that's put the kibosh on Sam Mullins. No, seriously, the two teams that won last weekend, they're playing one another. A lot of what you said, like the Styler, James Doyle, could tell a lot. The two of them could have great games, and probably one could outscore the other. The centre back could outscore the other. But James Doyle might have a bit more mind than the one Styler than if he was. I know you're saying about 8 and 9 come back in mind in the house when he be gone up the front, but you can't be leaving Styler in loose at the back, no matter what 8 or 9 you have in front of you. But I'd still just give St. Mullins point or two. But St. Mullins, looking at Bagnallstown's game, last weekend, goals. If they get 2 or 3 goals again, I'd say they'll beat St. Mullins, but they'll be looking at that like St. Mullins will be looking, saying, we keep these boys with no goal, they'll have to get 22 or 3 points to beat us possibly. So
yeah,
I'll give St. Mullins a tight verdict, but if Bagnallstown get 2 or more goals, that's going to go 180 degrees.
So there's 3 different verdicts for this one, and irrespective of what happens in that game on Sunday, I think it's a real sign of progress that we're talking about Bagnallstown having a chance in this, because 3 years ago, they weren't even in the grade, were they 3 years ago? So that's real progress, and that's great to see. And hopefully we're talking about Nair Breed and all the other clubs in that regard in the next couple of years. That and yeah, here's hoping. It'll be great. The more teams you have up there, the better.
Yep.
Right, so the draws then, lads, for the Senior Football Championship, they were just made in the last couple of hours, so we can give them here on the Left Wing Back podcast, even though it is the hurling show, so look, we might as well throw them out. Senior Football Championship, Group 1. Monash, and in the first round, we'll go with the fixture as well. Monash Rangers versus Rathvilly. Old Loughlin versus Ballinlabrana. Go on, you boy, yeah. And then obviously there's a 5th team in that group because there's no relegation last year, and that is Bagnallstown Gaels. They'll have a bye in the first round. Group 2 then, so Tinryland and Pal in the first round again, on you by you, and a third on you by you because Airog have the Blues as well. Jeez, local derby central. 24th of September, I think, is when all of that is kicking off. I'm going to go on through all these draws actually, just while we're on the topic of it, and we'll see what the crack is then with you lads. Intermediate Championship, Group 1, you have the Fighting Cocks versus Kilbride in the first round, and and St. Patrick's versus Fenna. And then in Group 2, it's Navan and Clonmore and Cleven Clonegall and Airog. We've only 8 teams listed there, so someone has a bye, don't they? What's the team that's missing? Should we have 9 there? We should. Someone is missing.
One team has gone up. You should have.
Yeah. One sec. Granger's still junior. Yeah, I can't think. Airog. It's Airog. No, did I call it Airog? I call it Airog.
I think.
It'll come to me on a moment's time. If you lads, you think away there, I'll call it the junior A draw. 8 teams listed here as well. So in Group A, we've Éireoga and Pal in the first round, and O'Loughlin Grange. And then in Group 2, it's Ballin and Loughlin Bridge and Rathvilly and Tinryland. Junior B Championship first round, Group 1, Ballyrana versus Rangers, and then Asca and Navan. And in Group 2, you have Killavin Donegal versus Fenna and O'Hanrahan's versus Bindstown Gales. Junior C Championship. Now, I don't know if this is a typo, but I hope it's not, because it's an absolutely brilliant thing to see. Group 1, first of all, it's Pal and Tinryland, and then you have Tullow and Ballin. Now, Group 2, Clonmore versus the Fighting Cocks, and St. Mullins versus Loughlin Bridge. Is St. Mullins putting a team into the Junior C Football Championship?
Yeah,
I was told that this year.
Wow. Genie Mac. That's great. It's great to see them back playing a bit of football. They were a very good Junior A side 6-7 years ago. And if you get to see Mouse play a bit of ball, hopefully he gets back. He's a serious footballer as well. Paddy Keogh is a serious footballer. James Doyle, I think, is a decent enough footballer. Jack Kavanagh played in a minor football championship final for Leinster Rangers. Do you remember when Jack went to play in 2006? They got to a county final against Éireoga, and Jack was midfield, I think, on it. That's great to see them back. There's probably less down to someone's giving out about it. Maybe they didn't want it because sometimes they see the distraction. But look at this year, there's a different, there's a separation. So the hurling's obviously played off, football's played off. Yeah, that's great.
No point being idle, as I say. Like, I mean, like that's you said, when it's not week on week or, or fortnight on fortnight, sure, it's brilliant. Like, I mean, they have a run of, after the hurling is over, there's going to be a space there. So why not? Like, fair play to them. No, it's good to see it.
Now, there's a question on, I'm just going through Twitter here, reading off this, and a question has been asked, is it the same format this year? First team of the semis and second, third and a quarter, and fourth relegation playoff. And there's a response on that, and again, I have to confirm the authenticity of this. One go down from each group. Are they looking to bring it back to 8 teams then again for next year?
Presume so.
Don't know. One is going down, one is coming up.
One from each group,
senior.
One from each group.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
I'd say we'd have to check the bylaws. That'll be all right till you are the team that's going down, and along with someone else, and then there'll be.
Well, this happened in Laois going back maybe 6-7 years ago. I think they were looking to drop 2 teams out, and then there was 3 teams in that little relegation scenario, and they found a little loophole in the book, and it meant that nobody was relegated, and the championship had to be, well, someone was relegated, but it wasn't 2 teams, only 1. You couldn't give a bye. The loophole they found, I think, is you couldn't give a bye in the championship, or there couldn't be a bye in the championship and still have relegation. So that's the loophole they found.
They're giving Frank Murphy, Cork County Board, there.
So look, I made the point, and I'll discuss it later again. I wanted to see that go to 10. It would have been great, I think, if it was 10 teams. It's going back to 8, so the little yo-yo effect might still happen. Lads, any thoughts on that before we let it go? We're all GM, and I know we're on the hurling show, but we do like our football as well here, despite what people may think.
I think
about you two guys anyway, but you love it as much as hurling, let's be honest about it. What do you think in general there? What's your thoughts on the draws very quickly, and formats, if that is to be the format? Let's start with you, Joe.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, the format's kind of there the last couple of years. I'll be bold in my predictions at the start, and I just think senior football, I can't see past Éireoga. I think it'll be 5 in whatever 10 or 12 weeks time. I think it'll be 5 in a row for them lads. I can't see them in NAB this year, or or whatever again this year in terms of the championship. Intermediate will be a good grade. Not saying senior won't be, but I think Éireoga are going to be dominant there. Intermediate be a good grade. Obviously Kildavin suffering the heartbreak of losing the final will be the double down, given the short break till this year's championship. I think Fenna will have a good part to play in it. A lot of their younger footballers have a year under the belt, so I might fancy them to do something in it as well. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't be the junior, and you wouldn't know with second teams and who'll lose what. Tinryland obviously put up a massive show in the final against St. Pat's, and you wouldn't. They might be targeting again, but sure, like I said, Loughlin are in a first team. Grange, Pal are always decent. Pal, and so it's an interesting championship. That one as well. For the second teams, it just depends on how many are stripped really. As your first team progresses. I'd like to actually, not that I fancy one or the other, but I'd like to see Loughlin Loughlin maybe to make a move. I know they're your own club, Kevin, but I'd like to see him making a move. Really kind of pushing on from junior maybe up into intermediate. They have a lot of young footballers there. The last couple of years there, it's kind of you're either my age and Stevie's or you were 19 sort of thing, and there was nothing in between. And they're building on it, in fairness. And it'd be nice to see them. It'd be nice to see something coming for them. You know what I mean? Like, not, like I said, not that I have anything against any of the rest of them, but I'd like to see them popping back up into intermediate, like, because there's a good central population there, and it'd be good for football as well.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be against it anyway. Stevie, last word to you then before we wrap up.
The senior looking at their Og last week, very impressive. Complacency, if it ever entered their heads, I don't know. It doesn't often enter their heads. Could be their biggest enemy. Look, you don't know. Short championship, things happen. Lads get sent off. Lads miss a couple of games. But to have the panel to carry that, you'd be thinking the intermediate. Kildavin, I'd say, must have learned a quite lot in losing the final to Ballinarana the way they did, as in they were out the gate, gone home, depleted, bet be 10 points, next to come back and lose by 2. So I'd still give Kildavin a good chance at that. Daniel St. Ledger can stay fit, and Killian Redmond is playing, and rugby is nice. You don't know, there's other things going on. It's a short championship, maybe to be able to get him, or maybe don't have him at all. The junior, I'd say Grange have to be the favourites there, my eyes anyway. So we'll leave it at that. Right,
there we go. So again, just a word of mention for our sponsor, Back in Line, Paul Kelly. Thanks a million again. Has looked after me very well for I don't know how long now at this stage, but top guy, and I'd say he's enjoying himself as we speak as well. So while we're on it, I think Daniel St. Ledger's getting married today, so let's wish him the very best. And I'd say Paul is on point number 23 by now. Paul's a serious operator on a night out. Actually, he's great crack, and I think anyone that's tuned into the podcast will know and recognise that. Just a great character, and you need those, of course. So thanks again to Paul for sponsoring us, and don't forget, just going to bring up this little banner here. Anyone that's listening to the podcast won't be able to see it, but you can get in touch with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at the Left Wing Back, or if you want to send us an email, it's leftwingbackpodcast@gmail.com. So hit the subscribe button there. You'll get notifications on Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube when we go live, and the podcast, as I said, will be available in all usual places again, your Spotify's, your Apples, etc. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks a million for joining us, and we'll chat to you again soon.
No bother, Kevin. Thanks